Do you know these words in English? If you do not know these words in English, then you need to watch this video until the end. By the way, hello, my name is Benjamin and welcome to my channel. If you are a Russian speaker and you are learning English, then this channel will help you to achieve fluency in English, and it will help you to learn a lot of words. It will help you to expand your vocabulary range in English. Today, in this video, I am going to talk about employment. What is employment? Employment is when you work for a company. The employer is your boss. The employer hires a person or people to work for them. The employer hires an employee. So you have the employer, who is the boss, and you have the employee, which is the person who works for the company, for the employer. I am going to compare employment in Russia to employment in the UK and the USA. There are many things that I can talk about, but in this video, I am only going to talk about three differences I noticed about employment in Russia and employment in the USA. Кстати, я быстренько говорю на русском. В этом видео вы узнаете очень много новых слов. И если вы действительно хотите выучить все эти слова, у меня для вас бесплатная колода flashcard, то есть карточки. И эти карточки действительно помогут вам выучить все эти слова, содержащие в этом видео. Okay, let's get started with the video. The first difference I have noticed when it comes to employment in English-speaking countries compared to Russia is that in Russia, and I believe in some former Soviet countries, in order to be employed by a company, you need to have what is called in Russian a трудовая книжка. In the US and the UK, and I believe in all English-speaking countries, there is no equivalent of a трудовая книжка. So the term is a little bit difficult to translate into English. If you want to explain what a трудовая книжка is to a person who is not familiar with Russia, a person who does not know Russia, I would say that it is a government-issued employment history logbook. To issue something is a word we use when a company or government gives you something, like a document. If you become an employee at a company in Russia, then the company needs to make an entry in the logbook. And when you resign from a company, or if you get fired from a company, or if you get laid off from a company, then the company also needs to record this, to write this in the logbook. I just used three words: to resign, to be or to get fired, and to be or to get laid off. Let me quickly explain these words to you. To resign from a company means that you do not want to work for a company any longer. A synonym is to quit your job. When you resign or quit your job, you write a letter to your employer, your boss, saying that you want to stop working for that company. This letter is called a resignation letter. You hand in your resignation letter to your boss, and in Russia and the UK, usually you can only stop working 2 weeks after giving your boss your resignation letter. This period of time is called a notice period. In Russia and the UK, you usually give your company 2 weeks notice before leaving a company. In America, you also usually give 2 weeks notice, although this depends on your contract, and in most states in America, you could, in theory, just leave a company whenever you like. But in many European countries, it can be much longer, with notice periods being as long as a few months. There are some other synonyms, but the ones I have mentioned are quite frequently used. To be or to get laid off is when you have to leave your company because your job doesn't exist anymore. For instance, during the pandemic in 2020, many people were laid off because many companies did not have enough money to pay their employees, their workers. Being laid off is not because you did anything wrong. You get fired if you do something wrong. But being laid off is because your employer cannot afford to pay your salary anymore. Being laid off means your job has disappeared. A synonym is to be made redundant. So I have just talked about trudовые книжки and discussed the verbs to resign, to get fired, and to get laid off. Now let's talk about the second difference that I have noticed between English-speaking countries and Russia. When you are looking for a job on a recruitment website, in Russia you usually see jobs advertised showing the monthly salary. In America and in the UK, usually you see the annual salary, meaning the salary you get for 1 year of work. Or you might see the hourly wage, meaning how much you get paid for an hour. Also, if you are looking for jobs in Russia, you can see jobs with salaries advertised as na ruki, which translates as your take-home salary or your salary after tax. You also see jobs advertised as до вычета налогов, which translates as a salary shown before tax. In the US and the UK, most jobs are advertised with salaries before tax. Another thing to mention is that in Russia, you hear the terms белая зарплата, серая зарплата и черная зарплата, which literally translates as white, grey, or black salaries. In English, we cannot use these terms because they might be understood as racist terms. I would translate черная зарплата as an under-the-table salary. Or if you want to describe the term серая зарплата to an English speaker, you could say that part of your salary is cash in hand, so that you can avoid paying taxes. A белая зарплата would just be an official salary, a salary that you pay all of your taxes on. It is less stressful to get an official salary because you do not have to worry about the government giving you any problems. Moving on to the third and last point, the third thing I have noticed is that in Russia, government workers have uniforms with epaulettes, which are things on your shoulder that show your rank in an organization. In Russia, if you work for the tax authorities, which is called the Federальная налоговая служба, or in English, the Federal Tax Service, or if you work for the public prosecutor's office, then in Russia you get a very smart uniform with epaulets. In the US, the tax authorities are called the IRS, the Internal Revenue Service, and most employees, I believe, do not have a uniform, but they just wear their own clothes to the office. In the UK, the tax authorities are called the HMRC, His Majesty's Revenue and Customs. His Majesty means that the organization belongs to the king. Revenue means money that you earn, and customs in this context is about the organization that inspects things that you import or export. HMRC employees, I believe, do not have uniforms, but some employees wear a stab-proof vest or a bulletproof vest when they are doing investigations outside of the office. A stab-proof vest is something that protects you from knives. To stab someone means to hurt someone with a knife or a sharp object. A bulletproof vest protects you from guns, from the metal things called bullets. But this video is not about knives and guns. The point I am making is that in Russia, employees in government organizations wear special uniforms more often than government employees in the US or the UK. Okay, so let's finish the video there. Thank you so much for watching this video. И, кстати, как я упомянул раньше, у меня для вас бесплатная колода flashcards, то есть карточки. Ссылка в описании. И, как я сказал раньше, эти карты помогут вам выучить все слова в этом видео. So thank you so much. Have a wonderful day, and I will see you in the next video. Bye for now.